Hello and welcome to the James Granström Podcast, Super Soul Model Series, where I help you tune and tap into your natural state of well-being. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you ways that I've learned about how to develop your own self-belief. Most people lack real self-belief, and the reason why is because they've been conditioned in society and within their environment to just stay safe. And staying safe is one of the worst things that you can do. And the reason being is because if you stay safe and you stay comfortable, you're never going to go after the life that you truly want. And so most people's problems and challenges arrive because they are not going after what they really want. And I know this because this was once me. And when those feelings arise within you, those feelings of discontent, those feelings of dissatisfaction, that is a signal from your soul. That's a signal from your inner being saying, hey, you've got to address this. Hey, you've got to do something about this. So this episode is really fuel to help you go after what you really want. And everyone wants a good life and everyone deserves a good life, but not everybody's prepared to do the work, and particularly the inner work, to make those adjustments to be able to enjoy the life that you really want. Not everybody's been given a silver spoon. Not everybody has got everything that they need to start off with. We've all been given different dynamics when you've come into this life from a soul perspective to make the best of life given the circumstances you've been presented with. The circumstances you've been presented with are perfect for you in this lifetime and in this incarnation for you to turn it into gold. You are an alchemist. You have the ability to turn things around and turn them into something that's spectacular. But that is within your control. But it does take you being courageous. It does take you settling for more. It does take you changing your attitude. It does take you changing your thinking. And it certainly does take you being able to be in charge of showing up with a different character. And it's only when you're really willing to take a good hard look at yourself and make those adjustments and make those changes that life will begin to turn for you, that life will begin to work for you. And it's all based on your self-belief, because when you believe in yourself and you have faith in yourself and you trust yourself, there is no better feeling. When you trust yourself, you know that you're always going to choose the right thing. Life is a series of choices, and if you are making the right choices because you've developed some certain characteristics and attitude, then you're going to thrive. But that takes time to build on, and that's what I want to share with you in today's episode. So on more than one or two occasions, I'm going to put my hands up and say that I've had a good hard look at myself in the mirror and have some awareness to go, have I been settling for less? Am I going after what I really want? Because I noticed after a period of time, nothing was coming in. And so it had to be me that made the difference. And so if you're looking at this and you're waiting to be saved, this is the answer that you need. You need to save yourself. The things that caused you the most pain, the things that caused me the most pain, were when I wasn't sharing and turning up my light, where I wasn't giving and honing in on my gifts and sharing them with the world. So where are you not sharing your gifts with the world, and where could you? These are all the things that I had to learn along the way that were very difficult, but have given me so many blessings in the real world. And I want to share with you some ways in which you can do that in this episode. To my clients, I call myself the soul mechanic. And the reason why I call myself the soul mechanic is because when I get under the hood or I get under the bonnet, I adjust what I can. I make some adjustments in my life, maybe adjustments in my thinking, make some adjustments to my diet, make some adjustments to my environment, and I try and fine-tune all of that together. Unless you fine-tune yourself, what's going to happen is you're only going to be operating in a comfortable level, and you want to operate at your highest level. And you can only do that when you're truly honest with yourself. And so to develop self-belief, it takes courage. So is this you? Are you settling for okay? Are you settling for comfortability in your life? Do you play small? Do you dream that there is more in life that you think's on offer? And do you believe and do you feel as though that is a possibility for you? And if you can answer yes to that really truthfully, I can help you. And that's what this episode is all about. Because awareness is where you begin. So years ago, when I first started modelling about 20 years ago in the year 2000, I was breaking the mould of my family patterns, which was go out, get a job, get paid, stay in the company. And I was really anxious about that. But I knew that there was more to life, because when I was working in a bank, I was drinking really heavily and I was very unhappy. And it was only when I took the leap of faith to try another career that I started out on this journey of well-being. I started out on this journey of self-discovery. And what I thought was a pot of gold would be in a source of income that would come from a so-called job. The pot of gold that I discovered was actually inside myself. And as I started this new career, I had to develop faith in myself and self-belief, because at the beginning I didn't have it. And so I knew that I needed to develop my attitude and character and try behind the scenes to become the best version of myself, but I really didn't know where to start. And so, my life was really chaotic. Didn't have a lot of money, I was drinking heavily, and I was very uncertain when the next job was coming in. So I turned to books, I turned to inspiration. Back then podcasts weren't a thing, so I just read so many books. So I read books like The Autobiography of a Yogi. I read books like Losing My Virginity by Richard Branson, and I was inspired by things like magic on TV, like David Blaine, holding these body disciplines, like whether being in the ice for like hours or standing on these pillars for 24 hours in New York City and then jumping off at the end. And then I read another book which was about longevity called Breaking the Death Habit by Leonard Orr. Now, if you're a real spiritual seeker, check that book out, but it's not for everybody. But that's where I first came across being with the elements, which is so important for your well-being. But more importantly, the breathing, the holotropic breathing, and of course what you hear about with Wim Hof today, which is cold water and ice exposure. So we turn to inspiration to be able to believe things are possible. So wherever you may be, I'm here to help empower you on your journey to experience greater self-belief, whether you're a solo entrepreneur, whether you are wanting an intimate relationship, whether you're wanting to make a lot of money, whether you are starting out on a music career or an artist career or a scientific career, or you're a student or you're a parent wanting to have a side hustle. Wherever you're at, I'm here to help empower you, and that's the purpose of this podcast. So I want to give to you what I didn't have when I really needed it, which is a helping hand, someone who's been through it, someone who's been through the challenge and can help guide you through it. Now, whilst I might not be able to guide it through in person with you, I'm going to do it with you on this episode. And you can always tell how well you're doing by how much better you feel about yourself. Because self-belief will help you get where you really want to go. And self-belief, I've discovered, comes from experience, not just people's words. So it's your experience that will teach you. And every time that you have an experience that gives you feedback, you can be sure to know that you can make the adjustments if you need to. So let's look at some exercises for your mind and body that can help you develop self-belief, because self-belief comes from courage, self-belief comes from discipline, and self-belief comes from attitude. So you're going to have to begin to develop this and cultivate this in your everyday life. And one of the ways that you can develop self-belief, as you know, has to come from your mind first, because belief comes from your experience knowing that this is true. And because you've got different experiences to other people, you need to start cultivating a space where you begin to believe in yourself if you don't yet believe in yourself and what you're doing. Everybody who's ever achieved something that hasn't been done in human history before had to believe that they thought it was possible before they did it. For me, the mind is so powerful. For me, the mind is so important, and you need it to work with you rather than against you. And when you don't believe in yourself, you're allowing the mind to work against you. And that's because unless you push the mind with resistance over time, what happens is you settle. And it's the same with your body. When you are working out in the gym, you want to lift heavier weights, or try that exercise better, or try that kick better, or try that punch better. And it's the resistance and the adversity which you find thrilling, which you're wanting to overcome. It's the same if you're trying to pull off a new trick on a skateboard, or you're wanting to now speak in front of 10,000 people in an auditorium, or do your first gig, or whatever. It has to come with being pushed beyond your current levels of comfort. So one of the first ways or exercises that I love to use to help stretch my mind are affirmations. Affirmations which are done by Nurse St. John, which are in the form of questions. So which is, why am I confident and why do I believe in myself? Now, for most people, if you don't believe in yourself, asking the question, why do I? What you're actually doing is you're believing that it's already done, which makes you feel more relaxed. And when you're more relaxed, your mind will accept it. And then next comes the actions that you take afterwards. So you ask yourself these empowering questions. Why am I confident? Why do I believe in myself? Why did I start believing in myself? And then you start looking for evidence of where you started believing in yourself, because the mind likes association. So when you ask these empowering questions, your mind then is looking for the association from the question that you've asked. Now, it might not be there and then, it might turn up at some point in the day or later in the week. But the more you ask those empowering questions, the more you're going to get evidence that the mind will filter out that that's what you're looking for. So affirmations are really powerful. The other thing I like to do is take out a piece of paper and a pen, and I like to write out, today I want to feel confident. Today I want to feel successful and proud of myself. Today I want to feel accomplished. Today I want to feel fulfilled. Now, each time you're writing that down, what you're actually doing is telling your mind to tell your body to produce the emotions that you want to feel. Because self-belief is really a feeling of confidence in yourself. And when you trust yourself, you become extremely empowered. So setting up your mind and preparing your mind with thoughts and empowering questions and the feelings that you want to feel set the tone. They pre-pave the way for you. Also, things like meditation help me focus. So I turn up every single day to do a 15-20 minute meditation first thing in the morning. And often I do them at night as well. But at the beginning, for like 15 years straight, it was 2 times a day. Meditation not only helps you enjoy greater health, but it also helps you tap into the universe, helps you tap into the larger part of yourself, where you know things are infinite. But that is an experience only you can have when you turn up. So I've turned up every single day for nearly 20 years. And the only reason why I turn up is because if I don't hook up to that nice feelings, those feelings of bliss, those feelings of love, that feeling of relaxation, that feeling of like I'm on holiday for 20 minutes in this meditation, I feel like I miss out, and the chemicals in my body feel as though they miss out. And I've noticed that ideas come, and when you follow those ideas and they're really empowering, life gets good, so you want to do it again. So this encourages self-belief. So developing skills every single day to focus, to tell your mind and tell your body how you want to feel, and asking empowering questions to filter out all the other trash that your head goes through is going to be very empowering for you to develop more self-belief. But the next thing comes the physical, and this is where the mind wants you to feel desperately safe and desperately comfortable. But you've got to go beyond that, because beyond the mind lies your power. Beyond the mind lies your invincibility, because otherwise this is what keeps you stuck. So when I first started out and I was looking at the mind and thinking, well, what am I really capable of? What can I do that will really challenge me? Because remember, it's your challenge and the adversity through sports, through outdoor pursuits and activities and exercises that you can do that will prepare you for the real life. Because it's the real life that you don't know what circumstances will come to you that you need to prepare for. And very much like a pro athlete, you prepare, and you need to prepare if you want to excel. And when you excel, it's because you're turning your light up. You're not turning it down. You're not settling for less. You're not settling for comfort. So one of the things that I took myself on to really challenge myself was training to run marathons. So I've run a few marathons, and one of them was in freezing cold in Tokyo. And I used to train in Sweden, running up and down the coastal road in the south of Sweden in the winter, and it was so cold. And the reason why I was doing it was to prove to myself that I could do it. And once I proved to myself that I could run a few marathons, then when the day came and I'd run the marathons, I felt, you know what, I've done all this training, I feel empowered. So then I moved on to the next thing, which was skydiving. So I've done about 20 skydives, and I did my accelerated freefall skydiving license. And the reason why I did this was to prove that to myself that if I can land a parachute by myself, then I can pretty much do anything, because I was petrified of jumping out of an aeroplane, although I thought it was exciting, but I was even more petrified of landing because I didn't know how to land. And so I've never done any of those tandem skydives. I wanted to know that I'm in control and I can land a parachute by myself. So that was the whole purpose of wanting to do that. And it was a really fun week to do it, but it was super scary, and it was really super challenging. But it's a beautiful experience. Now, that's not going to be for every one of you, but skydiving allowed me to feel more grounded. It allowed me to think, do you know what, if I can do this, I can do anything. And the next thing I started doing was running in the dark in the middle of the night, because I used to be very scared of the dark. Now, it sounds silly, doesn't it? An adult thinking I'm scared of the dark, but that's what I used to feel. And so I started running in the forest in the middle of the night just to prove to myself that everything was okay. Now, I wasn't doing this with a death wish. I was doing this because I'd seen too many movies where I was scared, and I wanted to be in charge of my mind, not be in charge of what I've been conditioned. Now, again, this was something only for me. I don't advise any of this. This is just how my mind was thinking. It's like, if you want to eradicate this fear, then you need to start to be able to feel more fearless by moving to do things that make you feel uncomfortable. So I went out and ran a couple of times in the woods in the middle of the night, just to prove to myself that I was all right and that everything was okay. So this was to challenge the demons going on within. Now, this is not for everybody, but this worked for me. So my fears of the dark eradicated and subsided just because of the experience. Remember, it's the experience that's the teacher. So any experiences that you have are the teacher. So these physical exercises that I began taking were to help make me feel more fearless and more empowered. So the next thing I started doing was swimming in the open ocean. So I used to swim in the ocean because I was afraid of sharks. I haven't watched Jaws and things like that. And whilst I absolutely believe in taking great care and making sure that you are organised and prepared, when I was in the Maldives, I swam really far in the open ocean and over a big shelf, and I saw some sharks, and I managed to swim back, and it was about a kilometre swim. Now, that doesn't seem a lot for a lot of people, but it was for me, given my fear of what was in the water as well. So again, I'm just trying to go from fearless to empowerment to courage, so that you feel more empowered in your daily life. So obviously you have to have your wits about you and be careful. But again, this was just to have an experience to prove to myself that all is well. And the next thing I started doing was going on bungee jumps. So I started doing bungee jumps by jumping off backwards and jumping down, and then these free falls. And the reason why I was doing the bungee jumps, because your mind says no, but there's a deeper part of you that says yes. So these physical exercises were to go beyond the mind, which is wanting to keep you small and safe, and not be reckless and careless, because obviously you're safe, but to have the courage to go beyond where you're at. And that's what I needed, and that's where self-belief lies, where you have the courage to go beyond your safety net. And so the skydiving and the bungee jumping were paramount for that, as well as the open water swimming as well. And last but not least, skiing and snowboarding, particularly on steep runs. And I didn't start snowboarding till I was in my 20s. And when I started, I was falling all over the place, and it was really scary. And I bruised myself so many times, but getting up over and over again, failing over and over again until it clicked, was so empowering for me, which gave me confidence to realize I could focus on myself despite all the people on the slopes. So I believe that skiing and snowboarding is really an empowering sport because it helps you focus on what you're doing whilst having an awareness of who's around you. Another one that I did was standing on a pillar for 5 hours in the middle of the night. And in order to get on this pillar, I needed to take a real big leap of faith to get to this pillar. Now, I remember watching a film called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and if you can remember one of the last scenes, he has to take a step onto a bridge he couldn't see, and that bridge that he couldn't see would eventually be the leap of faith. Now, in order to have self-belief, you've got to have a leap of faith. You've got to be willing to fail. So be willing to fail. Now, which one of these exercises interest you, if any of them interest you? And could you be creative and come up with things that really inspire you to be able to take action? Because it's your experience that will be the teacher, that will give you the courage, that will help you move beyond where you think is possible. Now, daily little habits you could do that are physical are things like cold showers. How uncomfortable can you be for 15 to 30 seconds every day by having a cold shower? Now, I've been doing this for a while now, and it makes me uncomfortable every single time I do it. But I know every time I do it, it builds this resistance within me to say, I don't mind being uncomfortable, because sometimes real life is uncomfortable. And if I want to believe in myself and I want to trust myself to do the right thing and make the right choices, I've got to be willing to thrive in environments that are uncomfortable. And you do too. So all these exercises I've just shared with you help you develop greater self-belief, because they help develop discipline, they help develop self-control, help develop focus, self-reliance, and uncomfortability. Another action I take, which was after I read a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, was to develop true faith. Now, this is going to be really tricky for some people, but bear with me. So I'm just going to explain and share with you what I did, which was really crazy in my late 20s, which was I used to travel on the train with no money. And the reason why I travel on the train with no money was because in the book Autobiography with a Yogi, when he was a kid, him and his friend had to go on a train journey to another part of India. And they were sent on the train, and they had to come back with a full belly of food, and they needed to come back with a train ticket, but they were only sent a one-way ticket. And in order to come back, they needed to prove to themselves what real faith was, which was to be fed and to have a train ticket on the way back. Now, so I took this idea and I thought to myself, well, what if I can put this into practice myself and develop faith in myself? Can I be self-reliant? Can I build enough self-confidence in myself to trust that life will look after me, and that I can find a way to look after myself when I'm really up against it? So all these physical exercises help you learn to develop discipline, self-control, focus, and self-reliance. Because in real life, when challenges occur, you need to be ready, and you need to have courage to find out who you really are, because circumstances don't make a man, they reveal them. So you need to reveal to yourself that you can believe in yourself and you can trust yourself to make the right choices and do the right thing when real life happens. Maybe someone dies, maybe you have a relationship breakup, maybe you need to learn how to speak another language because you put in another country. Maybe you need to know how to turn up your light and use your skills, gifts and abilities because a business that you used to run isn't now functioning anymore and you need to find a new way of making money. All of these challenges are what I've had to face. But what's your story? What have you got to face? What are you facing? Because when you develop courage, when you develop discipline, self-control, focus, self-reliability, you're going to be empowered when real life happens, and the challenges that life brings you, you can deal with. So life is always going to give you challenge, and you're going to find discontent, you're going to find dissatisfaction from the time to time. But you need to be the hero of your own story. No one is going to come and save you. Only you can save yourself. And the best way to save yourself is by developing discipline and courage in your day-to-day life with baby steps. So maybe it's for you having a cold shower every day. Maybe it's for you definitely starting the habit of meditation. Maybe it's you starting out to do a 10K and then maybe a half marathon and then a marathon. Whatever it takes for you to start believing and stretching yourself from what you think is possible. If you see other people do it, you can do it. But what's your dream? What's your goal? You want to go beyond that. You want to be the pioneer of your life. You want to be the hero of your life. You didn't come here to copy others. You came here to be you. So success, confidence, and building self-belief all comes from you taking baby steps in a direction that really lights you up, that isn't in the comfort zone, that's definitely outside of your comfort zone. And when you can associate some past experiences and current experiences that make you feel empowered, that's going to create self-belief. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think. Tell me what your main takeaway is from this. Is there any of these exercises that kind of resonate with you, that challenge you? And until the next time, I wish you a wonderful week ahead and green lights all the way.